Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to another short war video, and today we have very big news out of Ukraine, Russia, and the United States, and let's jump right into it. This morning, Russia has declared it will resume nuclear testing immediately, and also will consider conducting a nuclear test detonation, as some Russian sources are suggesting to test it on Ukraine. Meanwhile, the United States has test-launched a Minuteman III ICBM near California, as North Korea prepares a nuclear test of its own, according to South Korean intelligence, and we've also heard that Belgium intends on invoking NATO Article 4 as major drone incursions have caused panic in Brussels after their airspace was entirely shut down last night. We've also seen Ukraine launch major attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, which is threatening to cripple the energy supply to the capital city of Moscow. So we have very big news today from everywhere around Europe and around the world, and let's jump right into our first article, which goes to next. And this right here is one of our biggest stories of the day. Right now we are hearing that Putin has ordered the preparations for new nuclear tests in Russia, and the dictator has instructed the Foreign Ministry, the Defense Ministry, and Security Services and other agencies to draw up plans for resuming nuclear testing, and also Putin ordered the government to explore the scenario of an actual test nuclear detonation, and earlier Defense Minister Belousov had publicly suggested conducting such tests on an atoll off the coast of Russia. So this is a very big deal. It sounds like the entire world is really warming back up to the idea of testing nuclear weapons in mass scale, and of course that's never a good thing, because we had heard before about 5 days ago that the United States had announced they were going to resume nuclear testing themselves, and now we're seeing that Russia is following up with that as well, and you can pretty much guarantee it, other countries are going to follow suit. So right now it looks like we're resuming a nuclear arms race with our adversaries, which is obviously never a good thing. So we are hearing that from Putin today. Apparently he's ordering preparations for nuclear tests, and it could involve nuclear detonations as well. So not good whatsoever. But moving into our next post here, this one is a crazy post from Dmitry Medvedev, who's once again ranting and raving here on Twitter. And we can see that Medvedev said, no one knows what Trump meant about nuclear testing, and he probably doesn't know himself, but he's the president of the United States, and the consequences of such words are inescapable, and Russia will be forced to assess the expediency of conducting full-fledged nuclear tests itself. So as you can see, Medvedev is once again taking cheap shots at the US officials about nuclear tests, and this is nothing new for him. He does it quite a bit, but we are seeing a return to form, and this is still pretty mild for Medvedev. So this is what he's saying right here, and it looks like he is once again reinforcing the idea that Russia will resume nuclear testing in some form or another. So once again, more confirmation of that. But moving into our next post here, we've also heard from Gerasimov in it looks like a Telegram post here, and this post goes to Preston Stewart, and allegedly the Chief of General Staff Gerasimov of the Russian military has allegedly said that Russia must take appropriate measures in response to Washington's desire to conduct nuclear tests, and if we do not take action now, according to Gerasimov, time will be lost for timely response to the actions of the United States. And also, there was a mention down here at the bottom, apparently connected to it, that said there is an excellent testing ground called Ukraine. So it sounds like maybe Ukraine is being directly threatened here with a nuclear test on their soil, but right now it's not very clear. So we are seeing that many members of the Russian military and government are once again beating the drums of nuclear testing, and they're once again trying to get back to it. But that's not all. We've also gotten another post here from Preston Stewart, and we've also heard the Russian mill blogger Fighter Bomber also allegedly suggested that Trump's nuclear test idea is an elaborate plan to allow Russia to use nuclear weapons to end the war in Ukraine, which honestly, that's some wild speculation right there. That is definitely crazy to hear that, and honestly, I don't believe it. But they say a US test will be met with a bigger Russian test, and although maybe this is a very clever multi-step plan, and the goal is precisely this freeing of hands, because the Ukrainians have pissed everyone off, according to Fighter Bomber, and the sooner they are finished off, the easier it will be for the whole planet. So to me, it sounds like crazy Russian propaganda. I don't really buy this whatsoever. It sounds crazy to me, and it's pretty much a speculation from another Russian lunatic channel. So I wouldn't put much stock into that, but that's what they're saying right now in some of the prominent Russian back channels right now that usually follow the war from Russia's side. So kind of wild to hear that, but that's what they're allegedly saying. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Evgen Istrobin. And while Putin is still threatening the entire world with nuclear missile launches, we're also seeing right here a very hilarious piece of news showing how desperate Russia actually is behind the scenes. And Evgen said that while Putin threatens the entire world with Oreshnik, Burevestnik, and Poseidon missiles, which are all nuclear capable, the power at the Vostochny Cosmodrome has been cut off due to debts. So this is apparently being reported in Russia that apparently one of Russia's cosmodromes, which launches their missiles, is apparently out of power. Their power has been literally shut off by the authorities because they can't pay their debts. So if that is true, that is insane right there. Russia is literally running out of money so bad that they even can't keep the lights on at their missile launch facility. So that's crazy. That is really truly wild. So that's how truly desperate Russia is behind the scenes, to show you what position they're really in. So it's not good for them, but that still doesn't stop them from threatening everybody with missile launches, which is insane. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Visegrad 24. And in the meantime, we have seen that the United States has also conducted a test launch of a Minuteman III ICBM missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, and the launch took place from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. And according to the base's press service, the missile flew nearly 6,800 kilometers and it reached an atoll in the Pacific Ocean. And the previous Minuteman III test was held off in May of this year, and the U.S. Air Force describes such launches as routine and regular. And in total, the missile has been tested more than 300 times. And like I did mention, this missile is designed to carry a nuclear payload. This is a very prominent ICBM missile right here, but of course it was unarmed during this test. So it was a pretty routine test, honestly, of this. I believe, like they mentioned here in the post, that another Minuteman III test was held off in May of this year because it was considered the tensions were too high to launch it, to test launch it, that is. But now apparently it's good to resume it. So they did launch another one from Vandenberg, and we saw that last night. So here's a picture of it, by the way. You can see the missile taking off right there. A very beautiful picture, actually, but once again, very deadly missile if it was equipped with a nuke. So very, very interesting to see right there in that photo. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Inside Geopolitics. And it looks like North Korea has also caught the nuclear fever as well, because of course North Korea is a very close ally of Russia and becoming closer every single day. And we've also heard that North Korea is set to conduct a nuclear test at any time, according to South Korean intelligence. And furthermore, now North Korea was showing signs of preparing for additional spy satellite launches with Russian technical support. So North Korea is once again doing this, and this is a favorite action of North Korea as well. North Korea loves to flex the nuclear muscles because it's a very puny and very pitiful state, but they still have nuclear weapons, which is still hard to even believe, but they still have them, and they're very potent weapons indeed. So it looks like North Korea and Kim Jong-un might be preparing another nuclear test themselves, in addition to the United States and Russia ramping that up also on another front. But with that, it's now time to move into our next piece of news here, which goes to Geo Insider, and this is another very big story. We're moving away from our news about the nuclear testing happening around the world now. We're also hearing a very disturbing story right now out of Brussels, and specifically out of Belgium, and we have an entire saga to go through with this. So last night we heard that air traffic at Brussels airport was halted on Tuesday night, of course, which was last night, after multiple drone sightings causing major disruptions and flight diversions. And drones were also spotted over Belgium's Kleinbrogel and Florens military bases once again. So this was a big deal happening last night. We saw the entire airspace of Belgium get shut down because of these drone sightings, and apparently it caused flights to divert, and it caused a major disruption of their airspace for a very long time. So Belgium is not the first country this has happened to, by the way. It's happened to so many countries, it's hard to keep up with it at this point, and it's still even happening in Vilnius inside of Lithuania. So it's happening all over the place. This is not new, but it looks like Brussels is taking this very seriously as of today, because moving into our next post here, this one goes to Visegrad 24. And right here we have a bombshell piece of news. We see that Belgium plans to invoke NATO's Article 4 following the recent drone incidents last night, and repeated drone overflights have raised serious concerns in Brussels, according to local media reports. And Article 4 of the NATO treaty provides for consultations among member states whenever a country feels its territorial integrity or security is threatened. And earlier, during a massive Russian drone attack on Ukraine in September, a Polish request to activate Article 4 followed after a Shahed drone entered its airspace. In fact, several of them actually. But we do see here that apparently Belgium is planning on invoking the Article 4 Charter of NATO, which means they are entitled to a consultation with the allies to see what is going to be done to respond to this. But I want to add that so far, nobody, not a single NATO country, has shot down any of these unknown drones, nor have they actually taken any real action to stop this. So it sounds like maybe it's another spinning of the wheels perhaps, but it's hard to tell right now until this actually occurs and the consultation actually takes place. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Max25, and we've also heard that Vilnius airport in Lithuania has also been closed again due to an unidentified drone, and airspace restrictions for airplanes and other aircraft over the airport were introduced at approximately 9:50. So this is not a new thing either. We had seen before that Belarus was launching these smuggler balloons, or at least what was claimed to be smuggler balloons, toward Vilnius airport a few days ago, in fact multiple times and several days in a row, and that shut down a lot of the airspace. And now we're hearing that apparently drones are back at Vilnius airport, and that of course seems like a concerted effort to me to disrupt the airspace over Vilnius. erroneous. So maybe one of these days NATO will start shooting these drones down, but of course we have not seen that yet. And NATO's entitled to shoot these drones down. They're entitled to defend their airspace, but we have still not seen that. So we're still at square one on this issue, even though countries have allegedly committed to shoot these things down. It still hasn't happened yet, and who knows why. We'll eventually find out, but it seems to be a very cowardly move to keep letting this happen without taking any real action. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Evgen Istrobin as well, and we've also seen another very large attack by Ukraine on a very critical piece of energy infrastructure, which supplies Moscow with energy. Because we can see that last night the Vladimirskaya 750 kilovolt substation was attacked for the third time in recent memory, and this is a very crucial power hub as it does supply power to Moscow from the Kalinin nuclear power plant. So we do have a video here showing the attack on the substation, and this is a pretty big attack right here because usually Ukraine will attack this type of stuff and it's not that big of a deal, but this one here is a major substation which directly supplies energy to Moscow. So it's very clear why Ukraine attacked it, because they are trying to, of course, disrupt Moscow, and we did see that here. So let's take a look at the video. And there's absolutely zero sound in the video, but right here you can see there is the major fire right there on the site of the substation, and once again that's a very large one right there, a very crucial one, and as you can see it appears to have been hit right in the center of it, so a very potent hit, and once again very good targeting by the Ukrainian drone forces. So a very deep strike as well. It looks like there was no air defense around this very crucial site, and that's why it got struck. But we also have one more video, so let's take a look. And right here, this is actually the moment of the drone strike. You can hear it coming in just right now. And it's flying in right now, and there was the hit right there. It smacked right on that substation, as you can see. And once again, there was the explosion right there. You can hear it in the distance. A very big hit indeed by Ukraine, showing that it was indeed struck last night. So moving into our next post here, this one is going to go to Visegrad 24 yet again. And we can see right here that apparently Norway is set to strengthen the border with Russia using fences, surveillance systems, and also drones very soon. And Norway plans to install fences along several sections of its border with Russia, alongside modern sensors and surveillance cameras to improve monitoring, and the use of drones will also be relevant for certain areas of the frontier, according to officials. And Oslo, meaning Norway, received around 16.4 million euros from the European Commission in late 2024 to modernize the Norwegian-Russian border. So this is a very big move as well. It looks like Norway is indeed in the progress of starting to install these fences and also all these defenses to get ready in case Russia tries to pull something off. So a very big move here, and once again it's a very needed move, because we need to make sure the borders are well protected from Russian interference. So it looks like they are doing that right now, and it also follows a trend of many other countries protecting their borders from Russia. So we're seeing Norway jump in the mix as well. But moving into our next post here, this one also goes to Visegrad 24. And this right here is quite an interesting story. We're seeing that apparently the RSF has shot down a Russian-crewed Sudanese Air Force IL-76 transport plane as it was bringing weapons to one of these Sudanese armed forces linked to one of the groups there, and 5 Russians were eliminated in the strike, and the plane was bought from Kyrgyzstan about 6 weeks ago for about 12 million bucks. So it looks like a Russian crewed aircraft, which was apparently bringing weapons to the Sudanese armed forces, was just shot down right out of the sky by accident, I guess you could say, or maybe on purpose. It's hard to tell, but it looks like it was shot down. So we do have a video here showing this. I don't have a whole bunch of information on it, but it is quite an interesting piece of news to see here that apparently one of these Russian crewed aircraft just got blown out of the sky. So let's take a look at the video and see the moment that apparently it crashed. Alright, and right there you can see there appears to be that aircraft falling out of the sky right there, right, literally on camera. Let's go ahead and mute that guy yelling in the background, by the way, but there it goes down. And also, it looks like here are the forces actually going up to the crash site and trying to see what they can recover from it, but that thing appears to be shredded. It is finished indeed. So, whatever happened with this, not really sure, entirely sure here, but it looks like it was indeed shot down, and we're not really sure why, but you can see there, clearly a very big hit. But nonetheless, folks, that's actually our last piece of news of the video. We hope you found today's video informative, and if you did, before you leave, smack the like button and also subscribe to the channel as well if you already haven't for more daily war updates just like this one, where we'll keep you up to date in real time about what's happening all around the world in all the different conflicts, pretty much in every region. So be sure to smack that like and subscribe, and also, by the way, if you want to support our channel financially, you can do so on our Patreon page, and the link is in the description below for Patreon, where you can go over there and sign up for a monthly membership and support the channel that way, which is a very big help indeed. And once again, a huge shout out to our Patreon Patreon supporters for making the channel possible as well. So we will see you all tonight, folks, at 10 p.m. Eastern on the next night of War News streaming tonight, and we will probably have a lot of news to cover in between now and tonight, so be sure to tune in for that. But in the meantime, folks, we will see you all then, and with that, bye-bye for now.